Narayana Murthy is back, and this time he's not even looking at 70 hours. He's asking us to look at China. He's asking us to look at China's dreaded 996 work culture. What does it mean? 9 hours a day, 9 a.m. till 9 p.m., which is 12 hours, 6 days a week, which is 12 6 hours, 72 hours a week. He says if young Indians want to build this nation, they need to follow this routine. But here's a fun fact: 996 was declared illegal in 2021 in China. But why do we in India want to bring upon this thing that was banned even in China, which is not exactly known for having the best work life balance? And why was that happening? Because Chinese people were literally dying because of overwork. And young Chinese were actually following the lying flat movement. What did that mean? It was just basically like, hey, I'm not going to work, right? They were just like, हम काम नहीं करेंगे, हमसे नहीं हो पाएगा. That is exactly what was happening out there. And that is why they were like, boss, people are dying, they're revolting in their own ways. We are going to ban this. So why are the industry bigwigs in India so hell-bent on making us overwork, or at least promoting overwork? I believe it has a lot to do with the fact that the math is on their side. The reality is, India is a very poor country with millions of graduates being produced every year, and there are just not enough jobs. Also, if you just look at the 2011 census data, for some reason we haven't had a census for the longest time, but if you look at the 2011 census data, 90% of this country has not even passed 10 standard. That's a shocking number. But then again, 10% of India is 150 million in a way, right? Like as of now, at least. Now let's hope the number has improved and say 20% of India has actually passed 10 standard, forget graduation. Graduation levels were around 4.9 to 5% in 2011. Today they are around, say, probably 10%. Let's hope, right? The number has doubled. Even 10% is 150 million people, right? And not all of them have jobs, at least not white collar jobs, right? That's the reality. And these industrialists know this. They know this exactly. And which is why they are like, we can make them work anyhow. Also, the government of India realizes that, hey, we have only 20 years, 20 to 25 years, somewhere around 2050 odd, when India will stop becoming a young nation. Like as of now, we are a very young nation. 40% of our nation is below the age of 25, right? So Indians have to really grow really fast. And how are they going to do it? Like any other country before us did, like the Japanese, the Koreans, and the Chinese. We have to work really hard. And you'll be like, hey, I don't want to do that. I get it. I completely get it. But the problem is there is so much supply of cheap free labor in a way that the average working Indian does not have much bargaining power. Because of this, what's happened is while people are arguing about, hey, work life balance, burnout, and so on and so forth on Twitter and Instagram, वो रोना धोना पूरा time चालू जो रहता है, Indians are now facing something called as quiet cracking, right? What does quiet cracking mean? It basically means that someone is actually burnt out. They are really losing their way, but they are a top performer, but they are not letting anyone know that, hey, they're cracking, they're burnt out. And when it really unravels very fast. And it's not good for them or anyone around them. So how is this happening? Why are people who are burning out, people who are quite cracking, why do they continue doing this? Well, there is a lot that is causing this. But I believe there are two major functions. Number one, zimmedari. In India, everyone has to really climb up the social ladder, the economic ladder. We are not a rich country. And as much as your Instagram is trying to tell you so, we have a long way to go, right? We live in a bubble, especially people like you and me. We really live in a bubble. Most Indians have to really work hard. Second, we are a service-based economy. We are not a manufacturing economy and we are definitely not an innovation-based economy, right? So because of that, what happens is we are dependent on the good graces of the people who we serve. Third, because we are a quantity, not a quality-based workforce, we are replaceable. So there is that ambition, that need to grow. Second, the very nature of the service-based economy that we have. And third, the fact is that, you're easily replaceable. There are so many people. So there is that fear that you may be replaced any given time, right? So people have no option but to work hard. Around 60% of Indian workers claim to be burnt out, according to a recent survey. According to the ILO, which is the International Labour Organization, Indians work around 46.7 hours per week, which is way more than the 40 hours or 35 hours, which is on an average across the world, at least in the developed part of the world, right? So you need to understand where exactly we lie in the grand scheme of things. 46.7 hours a week. Clearly, most of us work 6 days a week if you take the average. So it's quite a lot, right? It's around 8 hours a day, 6 days a week. Usually it should be around 5 days a week, but then again, we are not that developed, right? On top of it, if you look at it, such a high number of people, when they are burnt out, this is not good for productivity. Around 80% of them said when they were interviewed that, hey, when they were surveyed, that, hey, why exactly are you burnt out? They're like, too much of work, overwork, okay, understaffing. That was another reason that was given. Around 83% of them said that, hey, we keep getting messages and emails and calls about work even after work hours. Now, let's be frank, this is very common, right? I've gone through it, you have gone through it. Around 85% of Indians said they got calls about work even on their sick day off. This is unfortunately very true. And I remember the first time ever, many years ago, more than a decade ago, when I had asked for a sick leave. I remember one of my managers just looking at me like, I was like, what happened? Like, why are you looking at me with such disgust? And the response was like, आज ही का दिन मिला था sick leave मांगने के लिए. So that is the upbringing I've had in corporate, right? Now, what happens is Indians in general, we want to rise up, we want to do well, right? Because not so many things have gone well our way. We are, as I keep repeating, a poor nation. So there is an incredible amount of ambition in us, okay? And that is, accentuated by the demonstration effect. Basically, if you open LinkedIn, you open Twitter, you open Instagram, and what you're going to see is everyone having the time of their life, especially people outside of India, right? So you feel, yeah, why can't I also have a good life? So what do we decide to do? Most of us, we are like, okay, let's work hard. Let's work as hard as possible. At least the young folks, when I was young, I did this. Like, दुनिया हिला देंगे हम, we are going to work hard, we are going to do this, I'm going to do that. And most of my friends were like that, right? Especially when you came from a Premier M institute, you had that drilled into you, you were brainwashed into doing that. I take responsibility, but I can also not deny that early in your career in India, they brainwash you into being like, भाई तुम्हें काम ही करना है, यही है ड्यूटी है, कर्म भूमि ये वो. दैट्स नॉनसेंस यार. 25-30 हज़ार के लिए तुम क्या कर्म भूमि वगैरह बता रहे हो लोगों को? फालतू का सेल्स जॉब होता है मोस्ट लोगों का, उनका कोई आईटी का जॉब होता है, टेस्टर होते हो तुम लोग, छोटा मोटा कोडिंग का होता है, उसमें क्या दुनिया हिला देंगे हम? आई एम नॉट सेइंग यू शुडंट बी प्राउड ऑफ द वर्क दैट यू डू. आई एम नॉट सेइंग you should not work really hard. God knows I have worked hard. And I keep asking others also, hey, you should work hard early in your career. I won't be a hypocrite, right? But don't do it at the cost of your health, physical or mental. That's my point. Because otherwise, what's happening is Indians are quite cracking, is what I was mentioning before, right? Basically, it's like कि वाट लग गया but किसी को बताना नहीं है. Okay, that is the reality. लगे पड़े लेकिन किसी को कुछ बताना नहीं है, and you just keep working so that you keep delivering. Even the top performers are like, bro, नहीं हो रहा है, but they are like कि करना पड़ेगा because that's what it is. And what happens is it stunts your emotional growth as a person. I've seen it, because if you are trying to pretend something is not happening, you numb yourself because you are basically telling your body and your mind and your soul कि नहीं हो रहा है. So the basically then your mind stops taking everything from everywhere. It's not just like I'm numb only at work. No, you'll be numb everywhere else. And that has happened to me. And this will destroy your personal life, I assure you. Oh, and by the way, if you crack and you burn out and your performance starts slipping, very rarely does it happen that people are going to come up to you and be like, Arey bapre, kya ho gaya? Chalo, let's sit together and solve it. You will be basically asked to pull yourself up by your bootstraps and just basically get on with it, right? इंडिया में उतना कुछ काउंसलिंग वगैरह का अभी आया है in recent times, right? I'm talking about the big corporations and all. The small corporations and places where I've worked in, I've had a very amazing like support system around me. Once or twice I've had people around me who are like, okay, these are not helpful at all, they're not good for me. But more often than not, I would say I've had a very good experience. But I know people, I have friends, yeah, वो लोग literally मतलब ज्वाइन किया है कंपनी, 2 महीने में 6 किलो गायब. आई नो फ्रेंड 1 महीने में 4.5 किलो गायब. मैं यार मैं इतना मेहनत करता हूँ, मेरा वेट कम नहीं हो रहा है. बोलता है ब्रो मैं इधर इतना काम करा रहे, इतना डंडा कर रहे हैं मुझको, इतना मतलब वाट लगा रहे हैं मेरा कि आई एम नॉट एबल टू फोकस एंड ऑल आई एम डूइंग इज आई एम स्ट्रेसिंग एंड वर्किंग एंड थिंकिंग अबाउट वर्क इवन व्हेन आई एम स्लीपिंग. दैट इज द रियलिटी. दिस इज व्हाट हैपेंस इन इंडिया इफ यू जॉइन सर्टन बैड वर्क प्लेसेस. एंड व्हेन यू क्रैक दे विल बी लाइक कट ले भाई, हमको हमारे पास टाइम नहीं है. एज आई सेड, चीप लेबर, ओवर सप्लाई, दे गोना कम इन. Now, when you're burnt out, what many people are going to tell you is like, hey, it's not about how much work you have. It's about how well You are going to manage your work. Essentially, time management karna seekho. I was like, what? See, I completely understand that there is an amount of efficiency that can definitely be added into your workday, right? That I completely understand. But dude, you don't burn out because you're not managing your time well, okay? You miss deadlines, probably it's like, okay, time management kharab hai. But burnout is completely something else altogether, right? And also, if you think about it, I'll tell you honestly, burnout is when anxiety takes over action, okay? When there is so much anxiety, no matter what amount of action you take, okay, it's not going to work out because anxiety and action are essentially two enemies, and whoever rules your life. They determine your life. अभी अब नाइकी का ही देख लो, नाइकी बोलता है ना, जस्ट डू इट. So basically it's that they're like, take action, correct? But if you are not sure what you want to do, if you're super anxious, if you really are not into what you really are supposed to be doing, you will be like, okay, paralyzed in the sense ki yaar, I don't know how to proceed. You'll procrastinate, you will think too much, you will just be here and there, you'll be distracted, and ultimately there will be a productivity loss. You will miss your deadlines, and also the quality of your output is really going to go down. But what most people are facing is a crisis of energy, right? It's not just time that you have to manage, you also have to manage your energy, right? And energy can be depleted by emotional upheaval, right? As I said, अगर आपको anxiety है तो आपका energy चले जाने वाला है, और अगर आपका energy चला गया, you won't be able to work. And if the work keeps piling on, okay, if the work keeps piling on, you will burn out very soon. And why does work keep piling on? Why can't work be managed well? I asked myself this many, many years ago, more than a decade ago when I started working. And I realized is because of something very common in India called understaffing. And I thought, you know what, only this company has understaffing. Then I spoke to my friends, I like, अरे इधर भी understaffing है. तुम किसी से भी बात करो, understaffing है. Basically क्या होता है, 4 लोग का काम 2 लोगों से कराना. I have seen 4 लोग का काम 1 आदमी से कराना, right? So this is very unfortunate in India where management tries to cut corners. At least the bad companies, they try to cut corners. And as I said, right, because when you're a quantity based company and not a quality based company, you don't really think about, okay, how exactly am I going to produce the best possible work? It's like काम करा लो वैसे भी, there is, when there is not much of an upside, what you're going to optimize is on the downside. Okay, तो बेसिकली क्या है डाउन साइड पे आपका, कि कितना लोग है, कितना घंटा काम करता है, दीज फाइनाइट थिंग्स, तो उसी को आप मार मार के ऑप्टिमाइज करोगे. बेसिकली दैट इज व्हाट मोस्ट, दैट इज व्हाई द रेपुटेशन ऑफ एन एवरेज इंडियन मैनेजर इज अ घिस्सू, राइट? इनसे सिर्फ काम कराना है, इनका बस एक ही काम है, जो बोला है जल्दी कर, ऐसे कर, ज्यादा बात मत कर, अभी जल्दी से करा ले, ये कर ले. एंड दे हार्डली हैव एनी वर्ड्स ऑफ मोटिवेशन फॉर यू. दे थिंक दे आर बेटर देन यू. Maybe they are, but the way they manage things, the way they go about it is very obnoxious. The average, the below average managers that you will see. And many people in India, as I said, like 6 out of 10 of your people are saying they're burnt out. What is that, a joke? Is that a joke? What are you talking about? How is this good for our country? How is this good for the families of these people? You need to keep that in mind. Also, another thing I'll say, see, I'm not against working hard. I've always said this, कि मैंने खुद 70 घंटा दिन का मतलब हफ्ते का काम किया. I've worked 70-80 hour weeks, right? And I have burnt out also. But I have also worked 70-80 hours a week and I have not burnt out because I actually enjoyed what I was doing. I was paid well also. So I was like, ठीक है, ये चलता है. See, if you're in investment banking, you're in consulting, you're in all sorts of these sort of things, this works out for you. Okay, then you can work hard because it is pretty much out there कि काम जितना करोगे उसका पैसा मिलेगा आपको उतना, plus you have those incentives, so on and so forth. What people have a problem with is not really the amount of work that is there also, but it is also about how much are you paying me for this? What is this worth? I was not promised that this is what I would have to go through. Okay, I was told like this is going to be an okayish job. There will be, sprints of hard work, but this is an everyday thing, which is where people really burn out, where they feel cheated. That is the reality. So what do we do now? Okay, like most of us are burnt out. Like 6 out of 10 people are burnt out in corporate India. I'm pretty sure there are way more than that. There may be some who are like, ki, ha, I'm burnt out. Thoda, matlab, burnout is really bad, by the way. Not everything is burnout. Like just like not everything is depression. You're just sad. It's okay. Not everything is depression, right? You don't have to fetishize mental health. But yeah, I genuinely believe at least 3 to 4 out of 10 people in India are straight up burnt out. It's like कि इतना करा रहे हैं, कौन से डायरेक्शन में जा रहे हैं पता नहीं, तो अभी क्या करना है? How do you really work past that? That's my poll ke bol on this, right? The first thing I'll definitely say is really ask yourself where you are. Diagnosis is the first step to recovery, right? Ask yourself, अरे सच्ची में burnout हो रहा है, or do you see yourself going in that direction? Catch yourself early, right? That's very important. Second, when you find out, hey, I'm on the way to a burnout, simply go up to your manager, whether you like him, her, or not, whether they like you or not. Very simply, go up to them, be like, boss, this is happening. I do not think I'm able to take this. You tell me what to do, okay? And if they help you, great. If not, then you know, okay, यहाँ पे तो यही होने वाला है. Then you have to take a call, whether you want to stay here or leave. And unfortunately, from what I understand, mostly places who don't care about your mental health or health, they are not going to change, right? If they don't care about you now, why will they care about you later? So your best thing, your best decision you can take is just basically leave. Now, I'm not saying you have to leave the company itself. You can even leave the project. You can change managers, right? You can also do that. Third is, okay, maybe it is like, okay, the manager is also like, hey, you know what, let's work together, we'll solve it for you, we'll distribute your work a little bit here and there. Then what do you do? Very simply, I would say, genuinely be more efficient, with focus blocks. Okay, like I've seen this, like in India especially, people like to chat and be like, अरे क्या चालू है ये, and the biggest culprit is me. मैं इतना बकवास बक 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 करता हूँ अपने दोस्तों के साथ in office. I love doing that, right? But I would say don't do it. Be a little German is what I would say. They're so efficient. Europeans in general, they are very efficient. They are very focused. I would say focus so much. Why? Because so that you get on with your day. Yeah? After 6 p.m. you should not be responding to anything. You should not, if you are in a situation that allows you to not respond, right? If you're in a non-toxic environment, you be like, okay, मुझे 6 बजे के बाद मैं नहीं करूंगा ये सारी चीजें, right? So that is what you should also be focusing on. You need to focus also on some other hobby that you have. Okay, you have your own personal life. आपके personal life में ज्यादा कुछ चल नहीं रहा है, ठीक है यार, आप ड्रैगन बॉल जी देख लो, मुझे फर्क नहीं पड़ता. आप जाके यूट्यूब देख लो, आपको जो करना है लाइफ में वो करो, वीडियो गेम्स खेलो. Don't get drunk somewhere, because that's just going to make matters worse for you, I promise you, right? Like don't do drugs and all, it's just going to make it worse for you, I promise you. So it is very important that you find something outside of work. And remember, your work does not define you. This is the problem in India, right? हमारा प्रॉब्लम क्या है ना, our parents don't let us build our own identity. And most people in India are conformist. It's a collectivist society where individualism is trampled from day one. Now, what happens because of that? People are desperate to find meaning somewhere. So many people, they look at their work and they're like, work is worship. हम तो यही करेंगे, मेरा काम ही मैं हूँ. मुझे अगर स्टार रेटिंग मिला तो ही मैं स्टार, मुझे घटिया रेटिंग मिला तो मैं घटिया. I have been one of those, but I still see so many people who are just like that. It's unfortunate. In the end, I would just say simply, okay, we should be working hard. Okay, all of us should be working hard. I want India to develop. Okay, we are not going to become a superpower by working 35 hours a week. It's just not going to happen. I'm sorry. That is the reality. Okay, we are not going to be a superpower with 35 hours a week. If you want European working conditions, you have to go and work in Europe, and all the best for that, right? That's not a scalable solution. So, having said that, I will definitely say that, hey, if the management is listening, anyone in position of power is listening to this, that is one thing that can be done, is definitely then pay people hourly for overtime. Yeah, as simple as that. People feel cheated when they have to work more hours than they were promised they would have to work. As simple as that, right? You can call it fast-paced, dynamic environment and all in your stupid job description documents, but it doesn't change the fact that, like, it's like, bro, तू क्या कर रहा है, मैं क्यों 12 घंटा काम करूं, तू इन्वेस्टमेंट बैंकिंग का सैलरी दे रहा है क्या, तो मैं क्यों काम करूं. तो देन यू गिव पीपल इक्विटी यार, you give people equity, okay, or you pay people overtime. As simple as that. Now, with the problem being that we are a quantity based economy, a quantity based workforce, not a quality based workforce, do you have that bargaining power? So try and go into industries where you have quality output over quantity output. As simple as that. If you're in a quantity output scenario, I have nothing for you. I'm being very frank. Like, if you are just one of those Ghisu coders or testers who work for, like one of those large IT companies, it's you can't be expecting them to be treating you as royalty. I'm not saying ki, oh, abhi aapka to lag gaya and it is justified that they mistreat you. No, I'm saying you can't expect them to pay you 15 lakhs per annum, right? Because the math is not in your favor, remember? So keep that in mind, that you then either be, like satisfied with that low salary, with low work, because if you want high salary and medium level of work, you have to go to a quality place, or you have to go out of India. As simple as. Please remember, at the end of the day, if something happens to you in terms of burnout, right, whether physically or emotionally, there's no one there for you other than your family. At least for your family, you should be thinking and be like, यार मेरे friends and family के लिए तो I need to be, there. I won't even say for myself I need to be there, because I think common sense wise, it should be like you should prioritize yourself. But in India, the messaging has to be such कि खुद के लिए नहीं तो दूसरों के लिए तो करो. Like that's the problem in India, right? Like we have to really sell everything on an emotional plane. Otherwise, people don't understand. But anyway, all I'm saying is, just to conclude, if you feel you're getting burnt out, genuinely take a break, leave the company, leave the team, find something else, get a hobby. Okay. Do not think your identity is attached to your work. It's far from the truth. Your identity is something which you have to define who you are. It's not something on your laptop. I promise you. This was Paul Kibol. Let me know what you think of this. Like, comment, subscribe. See ya.